Welcome to the Limitation Isn't Rise podcast. On this episode, I have a superhuman, awesome guest in Joel Stone, who is a marketing coach. He is an agency owner, is a best-selling author, a podcast host. Your podcast is called Stay Hungry. In the background is a book called Stay Hungry, also for all you viewers who are watching and not listening. Well, listening and watching, I suppose, but people that can see the book is in the background. We will ask about that later. Just in case I missed anything, because mostly I just read your Instagram bio to make sure I didn't miss anything. But do you want to give a brief intro as to who you are to everyone, and welcome to the podcast, I suppose?
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. What an intro. Good job I've got my Insta profile up to date. That's all I'm thinking. I was thinking
Yeah.
a mutual friend of ours would have hammered me if that had been wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name's Joel. I run a marketing agency called Codebreak with my business partner Andy, and we help small business owners generate more customers through digital marketing. Easy as that.
Nice. You have that elevator pitch down. So small business owners, digital marketing. Do you think that's it's obviously something that all small business owners need, but in my experience working with lots of people, do you think a lot of people wait till they're ready? Wait till I'm ready before I start doing my marketing.
Yeah, so roughly we don't work with any businesses that turn over less than 200 grand, because what we tend to find is those businesses are still in the stage where they should be doing it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that whole either they're in that unsure period of like, oh, I'll do that when I'm ready, or they're still figuring things out. And as a rule of thumb, you can kind of scale a business to 150k off your existing contacts. And then that's when it starts to get a little bit tricky and you need to start employing some tactics.
Yeah, once you start to scale it all, you start to notice that you can not only outsource lots of the things that you're doing to pull back all of your time, but you start to realize how little you know about the next step. Like, because I know from doing my own stuff, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I just do this. And I'm like, this is now plateauing here. I need to. And then when you find people like yourself and you get chatting to people like yourself, you're like, oh, I see. I don't have a clue in this area. So if I was listening to this and I was thinking, well, what could a marketing coach or an agency do for me? What would be the like overview, the sky view of it?
Yeah. So I guess you've got two kinds of business owners. You've got the business owner with the big dream that worries about how they figure it all out to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
then you've got the business owner with the big dream that's going to pay someone else to figure it out for them. Um, and we work with the ones that want to pay someone else to figure it out for them, usually, or we coach the ones that want to do it themselves. And what I tend to find is up until 100k, 150k, 200k, depending on where the person lives, their lifestyle and stuff, they they're leveraging money up to that point. So it's about what can they afford to do
Yeah.
and about how much income they're generating. After that point, they're very often leveraging time. And so it's almost like what can they afford not to do so that they can have a life.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in. So marketing's very time intense and there is no shortcut. Lots of people will say online there are hacks and shortcuts, but they're not truly hacks. You have to know what you're doing for it to work in the first place. So where we come in is really giving people their lives back, or helping them scale way quicker than they would have done if they'd have tried to do it themselves.
Yeah, I love that point about people they spend the money whatever they can afford to get done, to trying to do everything, and then they realize at some point I'm wasting all day every day doing something like if you use the videos that I'm doing, for example. I was chatting to someone and
Yeah.
they were asking me how long it takes a video, and I was saying, well, it'll take about an hour and a half. And they were like, it took me just over 6 hours to do this one. You're like, how much is your time worth? How much are you losing there by doing that yourself? Something that you hate and doing it
Yeah.
yourself. So just getting people to that point, and again, it's not cheating your dreams. I've had this conversation before where people are like, I like to do it all myself because it's my nobody has the same understanding of the dream as me. You're like, yeah, but you don't have the understanding of like Joel to make your dream
Yeah,
happen
yeah.
way faster than it's happening. How did you actually get into this? So this isn't a normal like
Job.
direction. Yeah, I was going to say job, but
Yeah.
direction to take in life. So how did you get here?
Yeah. So my background is I studied graphic design at university. Um, always wanted to be a graphic designer. Was fortunate to work on some big brands. So I've worked on Guinness. I worked with Under Armour on Anthony Joshua's brand. Worked with Channel 4, and then the recession hit. And to be a graphic designer at that time, you probably had a full-time graphic design job that didn't pay very well, and then you freelance for lots of agencies on the side and didn't tell your employer that that's what you were doing. When a recession hits, very, very easy to cut freelancers first because
Yeah.
no contract. So my income went from what was a really decent income, and I lived near Manchester, having a great time, to just above minimum wage, and it just wasn't feasible. So I went to work for a conference company that manufactured goods in the conference industry, doing design work, but also the marketing. And ended up flying out to China, working with them in their factory. And that went really well until the conference industry fell on its arse, which is about a year later than the marketing industry during that recession. So then I thought, right, I'm going to go be a chartered accountant. Weirdest career move ever for a graphic designer.
Yeah.
But what I knew in the back of my mind was, if I've got graphic design, I've got marketing, and then I've got accounting, when I sit around a boardroom table to discuss things, when I eventually set up my own business, people will take me seriously because I'll be able to come at them from all angles. And so I did my accountancy, set up my own design agency, grew that, merged with my business partner, and here we are today.
It's funny because when you said accountant, was such a left field statement that you're like, where is this going, or why did that even logically fit in? But the idea of sitting there and understanding from all angles is something that I think about in my business now. That because I had to slog through learning Canva and videos and coaching and everything, when I am outsourcing, the people can't bullshit me, because when they tell me, this is very technical and blah 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 blah, I'm able to go, well, no, it isn't, because I know exactly how this works, and
Yeah.
I didn't go as far.
I'm not hiring you because I don't know how to. I'm hiring you because I don't want to do it. And there's a difference. We just won a client on that basis. They came to see us and they said, "Oh, we want this integration on our website, and we've been quoted $2,000." And I said, "Well, if you want, I can do it for you in this meeting right now." "Oh, how much will that be?" "Oh, well, I'd do it for free because I know what's involved, and it isn't $2,000." And then they've now become a long client because I've told the truth.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that connected me with all of your stuff. We met through Neill, who has been on the podcast as well. We met through his group, and just your honesty in general. But like for me, it was the Veecon really that showed, because you're like I believe, like myself, whenever you get into that sort of environment, the childlike creative mind, like you weren't trying to be, hello, I'm a businessman at Veecon. You were like, I'm a Veecon. Like, look at me, look at what I'm doing. And I think that really changed for you as well. And like you're saying there, that people are going to come to you for that. So since I just brought up Veecon, because it just reminded me that you were there, what was that like, being in this industry and then being surrounded by all those people?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest. I imagine most people listening to this won't know what Veecon is. So, because everyone I speak to, so I bought in April last year. I bought an NFT. So for the uninitiated, that's a non-fungible token, which is kind of like a crypto thing, a bit of a collectible. Some of them have utility, some of them don't. And it was by Gary Vaynerchuk, who's really, really big in the marketing world. And what that's given me is 3 years access to Veecon, which is his conference for crypto marketing, business, and NFTs. Now, if I'm honest, the reason I did it was so far out of my comfort zone that I thought it was a shit or bust way to grow my comfort zone quickly. Because when you put that kind of money down, you're at risk of divorce, you're at risk of losing your house, you're at risk of losing your business. It's a bit of a punt, and but I thought what would come off the back of it would be life changing, and nobody else did really. Everyone thought I'd gone crazy. But what's happened is that NFT is now worth a lot more than I paid for it, and I ended up buying myself tickets to go to Minneapolis on my own. The conference was at the Minnesota Vikings Stadium, so it's like a 70,000 seater indoor stadium. There's like, I was lucky enough to meet Snoop Dogg and Pharrell and Mila Kunis and talk to Jesse Itzler. It was like taking someone who never thought he would ever go to anything like that and then just dropping him in it. And I think that's how you described my reaction on Instagram. Is like there was no way I could document it by trying to pretend like this was the culmination of 20 years work and I deserve to be here and I'm on the same level as these people. I was like a kid in a sweet shop. I was just so excited to be there, and so humbled by the experience and meeting all these people who felt the same way as me. They were humbled too. So it was like meeting up with 6,500 of your best mates who you've never met. Very, very strange situation.
One of the other reasons I wanted to bring that up was just to further prove that the freedom that you get from having your own business and working for yourself. Because again, if you were stuck as a chartered accountant and you decided you wanted to buy yourself some tickets to a Veecon, there would have been a lot of easy escapes from your comfort zone to go, oh, well, I can't really leave work and it's going to cause this and all this. Whereas developing, it's something I push with everyone that I speak to, developing their own, even if it's only a side business, so that you can start to develop freedom. Like you have that freedom now to do like essentially whatever you want, even if you're terrified to do it and you're just trying to blow up your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to dress it up and say I have like a jet set lifestyle and can just pick up and drop work whenever I want. That is not my life. And I think if you want to be a successful business owner, that will not be your life either. So like just being honest, I really struggle with those like Instagram accounts where it's a Lamborghini in front of a private jet and like they're sat on the bonnet as if that's their real life. And you're like, well, I know billionaires that can't afford that. So there's a disconnect. This isn't real. But what my sort of career trajectory has afforded me is if I want to do something, I can. And because I've been fortunate and worked hard to be successful, some of those things are things I never thought I'd be able to do. So Veecon being one of them, flying out to Minneapolis, going to this awesome conference. I spent another 6 days there afterwards, hired a car, spent 6 days looking for a moose. That's a true story. Gives you insight into who I am and what I'm about. But yeah.
Well, did you find the moose?
Well, so yes, in short, yes. But I went into North Minnesota, and on the first day I'd got a hire car, and I drove up a track into the woods, and I drove 57 miles up this track into the woods, and then don't know what had really come over me, but then realized that I was 57 miles from civilization in the woods. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, one of the people
so
that just appear on one of those American TV shows, Lost Englishman.
Yeah.
What was his plan?
So I drove back on myself until I got signal, and just looked up the nearest place to get something to eat because I hadn't eaten all day, and drove to this like saloon in the middle of the woods. And genuinely, if you don't believe me, go look at my Instagram because there's a picture of this saloon on my Insta. And I walked into this Insta, and there was 3 lumberjacks in there and the bar lady, and they all turned around and looked at me like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And so I just ordered some fries and a Coke, sat there, spoke to them all, said, "Oh, where's the best place to find a moose?" And they all laughed. They're like, "What, are you going to kill it?" And I was like, "No." So they told me this trail to go on called the Gunflint Trail. So the following day, got up at 5 a.m, thinking, right, if I go before sunrise, I've got a higher chance there'll be less traffic around. Yada yada yada. Saw a skunk, saw a bobcat, saw a raccoon. Got out of the car, went for a trek, came across a bear. Now that I say that very calmly because weirdly, my wife runs a zoo, and so I've come across bears before, so I know what to do, which is a strange thing.
Run. Was it run? Was the answer run?
Got back in. Black bears, you can pretty much just stand your ground and let them do what they want to do. Just don't approach them. Grizzly bear, the answer is run in a zigzag, but you're dead anyway. So they
Like
don't
the
have grizzly
Washington
bears in
shooter?
Minneapolis, so it's cool. So anyway, got back in the car, driving back to the hotel, hadn't seen a moose, and the very last minute, one ran across me on the road.
Brilliant.
So that's a long way of telling you, yeah, I saw a moose.
Yeah, but I like the zigzag off the conversation. Just throw in the middle, and my wife runs a zoo, and like I just enjoy how casual to the normal listener. Normal, I'm doing bunny ears. They're like, hold on, there's too many things here. You need to come back first. What did you do when you saw a bobcat? What do you mean your wife runs a zoo? How did this? What has this got to do with marketing? How did you get here? So I just love that it's
So
not. Go ahead.
yeah, so my the reason I went to Veecon, apart from genuinely wanting to meet Gary V and ask him some marketing questions, was mindset. Was could I spend 10 days in my own company? How would I fare at that? And then like the moose hunt was me pushing myself to do something I wouldn't normally do. So I say hunt, I was not hunting a moose, just to be clear.
Yeah.
So and my wife's responsible for that. So she in adventure terms has no fear. So when I first met her, she'd just been on a bear trek in Sweden and didn't see any bears, and she came back devastated. So we went to Canada the following year and saw loads of bears. She goes scuba diving with sharks. She runs a zoo. She just doesn't get worried about those things. She just thinks she's like Steve Irwin, that kind of like just gets really excited about animals and wildlife. And that's really encouraged me to push myself outside my comfort zone, which in turn has massively benefited my business.
Yeah, well, the stronger your mindset gets, the easier it is for you to, I'd imagine, get in and speak to those sorts of clients that are dealing with. Because I know from the past working with people that when they start to get into talking about bigger money, they get a bit of a fear, like imposter syndrome, nearly, where oh,
Yeah.
here that guy's earning millions and I'm only in 100,000s. Like, what do I do? And you're like, well, he doesn't know what you know, and you don't know what he knows. So
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you are where you need to be at the time. So it's something I think is overlooked a lot in business. People think that once they get their business sorted, they'll sort everything else out. I'll sort my life out, then I'll become more confident, I'll dress better, I'll do everything else. Whereas you're doing a mix of the both, which is improving the business whilst hunting animals.
Yeah, I spend now I'm kind of have a team and a business partner. I spend more time working on myself than I do working on the business, and it's really interesting. And it's all about those marginal gains. Like today, I had a kickoff meeting with a celebrity client. Now, if you'd have told me 5 years ago I'd have a celebrity client, I'd have laughed. And we're lucky to have several now, but that comes with imposter syndrome. That comes with the whole thing you're saying about, well, this person's worth millions of pounds, they've got millions of followers, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that resilience mindset and that self-belief to say, well, I can bring something to the table here, and I'm not just going to be a shrinking violet. I'm going to be willing to say no to this person that doesn't get told no very often.
Yeah, which is important because again, if you become a yes person, you end up. I've made this mistake in my business in the past where you end up a few months down the line thinking, why am I doing this shit? This is why I left my other job. Now I'm here doing this. Just when we're on mindset, is there anything that's been like a particular thing that you started doing? We were like, this is why have I not been doing this forever? This is really up to my game.
Yeah, I journal every day now. So every day I write down and I'll go through the process. So I write down the mood I'm in. So how do I feel? And there could be 4 or 5 feelings there. It might, if you're just angry, you probably should go see the doctor. That's weird. But
Yeah.
like, let's say it's negative, I'll write down angry, stressed, tired, and frustrated. If it's positive, I might write down content, peaceful, inspired, and motivated. So I'll write down how I feel, and then I'll just write like a short paragraph or two about how the day's gone or what I expect of the day. Then I'll write down a couple of things I want to achieve tomorrow, and then I'll write down anything I'm worrying about. And what I found is, one, it gets out of your head, which is, I think, really important. 2, it makes you realize everything you've achieved that day. And 3, it gives you massive context, because I've had days that are almost identical, but depending on the mood that I wrote down at the beginning, I feel completely different about that day. So whereas on one day a problem could be catastrophic, on another day it's a really interesting challenge, and yet it was the same thing.
Yeah. I love that idea. And journaling again is something I've been doing for a long time as well. Actually, to the point where I taught it so much that I ended up creating my own journal because I just got sick of teaching
Nice.
the same thing over and over again. So I have same sort of idea. The journal, there's one somewhere. The journal, I do a wake up, what time I'm getting up at, what day I'm on in the journal. So I struggled the other day. I was because I started marking the days down and it was 666, and I thought, do people write 666 in their journal, or do I? So I ended up writing 606 day 666 because I didn't want 666. I think that was my old kung fu superstition popped in again. But then I do like gratitude, 3 things you're grateful for, 3 non-negotiables in your day. So no matter how shit your day is, at least you did 3 things that were good. And then same thing in the morning. I write my mood, what I'm going to do, and then I do morning and night journaling, and then 3 things that went well. So it ends my day focusing on a high. And again, it's such a simple thing to do, is write stuff. And I would even say, like, sometimes my day might start with me writing. I don't know how I feel. I don't know, but I'll write that. I don't know. And then later on that day, I'll be like, when I do my night journal, I'll be able to look back at that and go, you didn't know because you hadn't structured your day. You hadn't a plan. This is the first day you haven't planned anything. You're like, oh, fuck, right. So plan. And then I know now, well, planning is good for me because it keeps me motivated. So is this something that you would, as a wee add-on, suggest to your clients when you're working with them, just to keep them?
So interestingly, our coaching clients, we've designed a journal for them.
Brilliant.
It's got a bit more of a marketing kind of skew on it, but it's the same principle. Our done for you clients, obviously, they're kind of offloading to us. So if we then say you need to journal about what a great experience this is, that's probably taking the piss. So, but yeah, the coaching clients, absolutely. And it's really interesting because some of our done for you clients, they're so time poor, hence why they outsource to us, that when you just kind of having a review chat with them, they very often ask questions about, oh, what do you read about mindset? What do you do for mindset? Like, what's your daily routine? And I always bring up journaling, and interesting, I always bring up structure as well. Because I don't think there's very few humans I've ever met that thrive without structure. There's a lot of people that say they like being spontaneous and they don't like being tied down. But when you actually look at the nuts and bolts of those people, they have incredible structure in their lives that allows them to be spontaneous. And so their routine is so nailed on that free time allows spontaneity, where that is structure in itself. And I think, like, for me, structure's been amazing, because I had a relatively unstructured life as a teenager, and injecting that structure has allowed me so much freedom, and it just enhances everything in terms of, if you're trying to grow a business to a certain point, and you build non-negotiables into your day, the things that happen and how quickly they happen will really surprise you.
Yeah. It's the people that the people that don't like, oh, I don't like to do that, and I don't like the structure too much. They're the people that wake up and then have to waste a load of bandwidth in the morning going, right, what am I going to do today? Like I was saying about that last day, I
Yeah,
journaled because I didn't have my structure in place, because I've crossed over, cleared up one business, and I'm on another, just focusing on the other one. I had a bit of a transition to go where I was like, where did I get all this time? What the fuck do I do with?
mm,
And then you go, that's good. I've got all this spare time. And then by day three, you're wasting even more time than the time you've gained because you don't have anything in place. So it's why I immediately went back to structure again. Like I need to create a new structure and go
yeah,
with that. And like the people like you're saying that say, oh, I thrive in chaos. Like, no, you don't at all. Like you're,
yeah. So we went on holiday with some friends a few years ago, and my wife's quite similar to me. We plan what's going to happen on the holiday, so we'll sort of plan out the days, and obviously there's like time in there for lunch and beach and all these things. But we'll always be like, oh, we want to go and see this, we want to do this, and our friends were like, what are you doing? Like, it's a holiday, you're meant to relax. And I was like, well, to be honest with you, I can relax for a couple of days. Yeah, I'll sit by the pool with you for a couple of days. But after that, I am going to be itching for structure and to do things. And no, it doesn't have to be work related, but I just need to feed my mind. And if that's not for you, that's fine. But just expect me to take the hire car and bugger off.
yeah. I think that I find that while weird whenever people are like, I know, but we just want to sit. And you're like, well, you can sit. I'm going to go over there and see what's over there. I know, but we're here to relax. Like, do whatever you, I don't mind. I'm going to do that. But people think that we're in this holiday together and you should be wanting to laze. And I think it's down to like in your, you love what you're doing, same as myself. So we don't need
Yeah,
the escapism from life or the escape from that. You get like, I get to do what I'm doing. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I get to interact with the people I'm interacting with. It's not something like I'm not coming on this podcast thinking, fuck, right, I have to get through this one podcast today and that's me done. Like, I don't get paid
yeah,
for doing
yeah,
the podcast. I
yeah.
love doing the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was it. Like I looked at my diary this morning. I had 3 meetings before this. I knew got the podcast. I've got a call with one of my coaches after this, and I just look at it and like every day I'm looking forward to that stuff.
Yeah.
So a holiday doesn't mean the same thing at all. I'm not going on holiday for a massive. I mean, there is some recuperation and rest, of course, because I
Yeah.
guess I have the other issue in the sense that I enjoy what I do so much that sometimes I forget to rest. That's a bit
Yeah.
different. But I actually go on holiday to be inspired. So it's like, oh, let's go and experience some other culture. Let's see things I otherwise wouldn't see. Let's chase after a moose, because that's when I come up with my best ideas.
Yeah. You're creating a life that normal doesn't exist in. So like the moose story
Yeah,
is a great example because people would be like, I would fucking never 57 miles. Like in my head, when you say 57 miles, I think of how far away, like that's nearly Belfast. And I'm like, that would take
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I don't enjoy that drive, but I would enjoy a drive up a mountain thinking I might see a moose. Like, and in my head,
yeah.
I only thought I was gonna say mooses, but that's probably not what they're called. What is it? Couple moose
Moose
called?
and moose, isn't it?
Is
Yeah,
it
just moose,
moose?
moose and moose.
I thought
Yeah.
they were only in Canada, so I've learned that if nothing else. Like, so I could see one if I went somewhere else.
They're in Sweden as well. So that'll blow your mind. How did they get there? So
But
um, yeah,
where?
no, but like there's a dose of reality that has to come with these things. That the grass isn't greener on the other side. Or I'm not saying just because I don't live a normal lifestyle, it affords me to do these things. It's an incredible sacrifice. I don't get paid to go on holiday. I
Yeah.
like, and then like the reality of chasing a moose 57 miles down a track is you then got to go and pay a car valeter to valet the hire car to attention to detail, to a level of detail that they've never had to valet a car before, because you couldn't possibly take the car back to Avis in the state it was in.
Forgot about that bit. Uh, um, We'll go to your book because it's in the background there. First of all, stay hungry. What, where did that come from? Stay hungry.
So it's our business philosophy, for want of a better word. And the reality is, we had a client. Weirdly, they're a hire car company. So it's like you did that on purpose, but
Yeah.
you didn't. And they asked us to build their website and do their marketing. So what happened was, we did a good job, and they never had any cars on their forecourt. So they were having problems with people coming to them to hire a van or a car, and they didn't have any. So we were like, awesome, we've nailed it. Let's get some more vans and cars. And
Yeah.
they were like, no, our lives are hell. This is too busy. Like, we're going to downgrade. And we, sorry, what? Yeah, we just want to go on to a lighter package. You guys are killing us. And that's the honest story of where Stay Hungry was born. Is we can't work with people with that
Yeah.
attitude, because it goes against everything we're doing here. So I completely appreciate there are businesses that have a level and they want to operate at that level, and it's comfortable and they live a nice life, and that's fine. But
Hmm.
don't approach us, because we'll murder you. We'll
Yeah.
be on you, we'll be hounding you, we'll be talking to you about KPIs and cost per acquisition and how we're going to grow your business. And you'll be like, I just want to stay the same, leave me alone.
Yeah.
So I actually asked my friend to draw us an emblem to go with that value, to just make sure that people were really clear, either this isn't for me or it really is for me. So now that we've got like a T-Rex and everything, it's printed on the back of this T-shirt, it's all over our office. So when people sort of land on our website, they're like, okay, these guys might be a bit much for me, or these guys are perfect for me.
Yeah. And again, it's back to what you were saying about the celebrity stuff as well, being able to say no and knowing your worth and knowing what you actually want to do and who you want to work with instead of everyone. Like, it's one of the things that when you work with, even in the video game, when I'm saying to people, who are you directing these videos at? Because when I'm editing them, I'm thinking, oh, that
Yeah,
was the Sally who's 30, and now this one's the Jimmy who's 80, and this is the kid. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, we can help everyone. Like, that's, you're just
yeah.
grabbing for people then. So, what was the process of the book then? How did the book come out of that? So,
Um, so this, there was, I don't know if you heard, there was this virus that went around,
yeah.
caused quite a bit of disruption. So we we um, we found ourselves with a bit more time than we normally have, um, and a massive problem in the sense that most of our clients had left. So like, right, what are we going to do to reposition the business? What we're going to do with all this time sat at home so that our wives don't kill us. So between Andy and I, we wrote the book in 60 days.
Nice. That's impressive book writing. And it's a bestseller, so it's not just like you wrote a book, like, because anybody, to be fair, could write a shit book in 60 days, but
Yeah. So yeah, Andy's background is copywriting, so he was always under pressure. I used to draw pictures for a living, so pressure's off. But it's the whole. We didn't want to put something out there that wouldn't be incredibly valuable to people, even once we're gone. It had to have something about it,
Mhm.
because your name's on it. It's that
Yeah.
that whole thing. And we'd also met a lot of businesses that had self-published and then used slightly shady methods to get the bestseller
Yeah.
title.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do that either. So we just put our heart and soul into writing it, paid a proper editor to edit it, and then released it on the Saturday night, self-published through Amazon Direct Publishing. Woke up on the Sunday morning and it was a bestseller, and we hadn't done anything.
That's awesome.
So that was a really nice feeling, because we bled for that book.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there. And I love that you brought that up, that you're saying that you didn't do, because I've been asked loads of time, why don't you just make your book a bestseller? I'm like, well, it hasn't sold more than the other things, so it's not. I know, but you could make it. I'm like, well, that's what, for what? What I mean, like, what I may as well call it best
Yeah.
selling. Like, what the fuck's the point? It doesn't mean anything to me then that way.
So yeah, for the listeners, there's a few people out there that they'll essentially put it on Kindle for free.
Hmm.
A self-published book, they'll put it on Kindle for free, and they'll put a little bit of advertising budget behind it. And what happens is loads of people download it, and then officially you get a bestseller title because you haven't actually sold any; it was free.
Yeah.
So that's what we didn't. That's what we didn't do. We just went after specific categories instead. Obviously, in our case, marketing. So
Yeah, but even that, when you're saying that, like there's people that would put their book up and for a couple hours would put it in like dog grooming category or something stupid, and then have all their buy a load of copies bestseller. Like no one adds that the other bit. It's a bestseller in dog grooming. You're like, what are you? I just
yeah, yeah. So it's funny you say that because what I did was we wanted to be a bestseller in small business marketing because guess what, we do marketing for small
yeah.
businesses. So when we got it, I screenshotted it so that if anyone ever questioned it, it was like, well, no, look, we're in a legitimate category with lots of books. Look at the books alongside it. This is the real deal, and it's paid off really nicely because we've got a few American clients now that are kind of wise to this game,
Mm.
and they're like, well, can you show us the evidence? And it's like, yeah, and happy days.
Even though you're a graphic designer, they still believe you. 'Cause
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you're like, what
Yeah, I
category
haven't
do you want it
photoshopped,
in?
but yeah, yeah, yeah. Put it in anything.
Um,
Number one bestseller in romantic novels.
well, Stay Hungry could be a romantic novel, to be fair.
Yeah, stay thirsty.
Yeah, that might do slightly better. Um, so whenever it comes to all of it, like everything's now starting to open up again, like 'cause from the sounds of it, a lot of it was triggered by the shutdown of everything. So are you noticing now people are starting to realize, right, we can get back in, we can start doing marketing budget, we can start growing again, or
So I've never existed in a world any different, but Andy promises me that there was a time before this. But there's always a problem in the world at the moment.
yeah,
So we've had recessions, we've had Iraq war, we've had COVID, and now we've got the Ukraine, and being told that we're on the edge of another recession and Brexit. Um, so I've always got prospects with objections. There's always something. There's always this whole like, well, because of Brexit, we're winding in our marketing budget, or well, there could be a recession, so let's chat after the summer, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And to be honest, it's a great qualifier for us as a business to be like, you're still going to have to market your business whether there is or there isn't. So
yeah,
if marketing's a priority for you, that's fine. Let's cut our ties now. Let's not wait till the end of the summer. Or if you're serious about this, the way we work is always about getting you a return on your investment anyway. I don't care if the world's burning. My job is to get you a return on your investment regardless of
mhm,
external factors. Obviously, if there was a national power cut for 6 months, we might have to have a chat, but that isn't going to happen. So
yeah. The the idea that people seem to think that, like, what I don't get whenever people say that they're waiting. Like, say when Brexit first came about and people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait to see how," like, it's been like 5 or 6 years or something. Like, how long are people waiting for? And you put it perfectly there. You're gonna have to market it anyway. And my thinking would be you're gonna need to market better and more, because if there is, if people start competing on price because of whatever's going on in the world at the time, surely you being more authentic and more visual, like more people seeing you, is going to make it better for you. So do you think it's just back again, I suppose, the mindset? Do you think it's just a fear?
I think, particularly in the UK, but other markets too, people find it much easier to find reasons to say no than they do to find reasons to say yes, especially when it comes to spending money on something that's not tangible.
Yeah,
Um, so there is a lot of objections to deal with, some of which are fair enough, and some of which I think are kind of catastrophizing. So when a local bridal shop says to me, well, we're thinking about delaying things because of Brexit. I'm like, what the fuck's Brexit got to do with it? Brexit has got having no effect on you. Everyone's still getting married. We've just had 2 years of lockdown. There's more weddings than ever.
Yeah.
And you know, you kind of get into it and realize that some people will just do as they're told. So if the media says there's a recession coming, guess what? We'll have a recession because everyone decides that we're all going to fail. Or if the media says, you know, there's no grain being exported from the Ukraine, there's going to be a food shortage, everyone just accepts the price rises of food in the shops. It's like, there's no grain in the food you're buying. What are you talking about? So it's that whole like, whereas actually hungry business owners, going back to the kind of the stay hungry point, don't accept that stuff.
Yeah.
That they find out for themselves. They'll look at something and they'll be like, okay, can I control that? No. Right, park that, get rid of that. And then they'll only look to control the things they can control. So that could be getting their videos nailed. It could be getting their digital advertising nailed. It could be making sure their bookkeeper is doing their books in the most efficient way possible. And they'll park all the stuff they can't control and just focus on the stuff they can.
Yeah, which is a great idea for life in general, never mind just within the business. And like you're saying there, that people will find the excuse to not do, but do you think it's then your job to remind them of why they should do it, or do you just qualify it because you want people who are
Yeah,
hungry?
sometimes I have to, but I do worry when I have to remind people this stuff that it comes over very salesy. And I don't want to dress up. I never want to persuade someone to work with me. If I have to persuade them, the marketing hasn't done its job.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. But like looking at major events, the last recession, born out of the last recession, was all of the social media companies. So suddenly you had like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn go massive on the other side of that. The recession prior to that, we had the dot-com boom. So suddenly all of these massive internet companies burst out of it, and the whole way the world did business changed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're obviously having a tricky time now. I can guarantee you there will be businesses on the other side of this that have spent time marketing and working hard through it that will explode on the other side of all these issues, and people won't have even seen it coming. But it's because they've invested in themselves when nobody else did.
Yeah. It's back to the staying hungry, like they're pivoting and working towards building the business and building the lifestyle and building something going forward instead of just settling and I love that idea of not trying to convince people to, like, I've actually said this on calls, like, I'm not going to try to convince you to work with me because you'll be a fucking nightmare then. I don't, I want someone, like for the video game, I want people that just say to me, what do I need to do? I just need to video it and give it to you, and I don't have to do any of the other boring shit that takes hours. I'm like, yeah, that's the people I want. I don't want the person going, but let me tell you this now. If I was to do it this way, what would it be like? I don't, just do it the easiest way, and we'll get it all done. It'll be faster and work for you. So it's sort of sticking to your guns. Not that you hunt or anything, but sticking to your guns when it comes to all of this sort of stuff is what I'm finding is the correlate, like what's crossing over from how your business is growing and how you've stayed working with the clients you're working with, and then I'm thinking, well, that's actually what I'm doing as well. So say, just because I know wary of your time here, just so we'll cut it, and at some stage I'll try to get you back. If I was starting out now and I'm thinking, oh fuck, that's what I do. I actually just take on anybody. I agree anyone. I'm sort of, I need the clients at the minute. What would you suggest would be a useful way for me to change it around to go, right, rather than needing clients, I need to start looking for clients I actually want, that I want to work with, that are hungry and that are going to stay that way?
So the first chapter in our book, which I wrote, is called "Fuck Everything Else Until You Sort This," and it's about this topic. So, and basically, near 9 out of 10 businesses I meet are playing the game of throwing as much shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And the problem you have is you end up with a chaotic business. You don't know why those people became customers, and you also don't know how to serve those customers because there's such a variety. So you've got all these different personality types flying around. You've got all these different problems flying around. You have erratic behavior to factor in. So people who become really successful and hate you for it, people who, it's all this really random stuff. And what you need to do is take a step back, particularly when you've got your business to a point where you're earning a living. So once you've got to that kind of point where you've established yourself, take a step back and have a think about what you want. So who do I want to work with? What's my perfect customer? And I don't mean what's my customer avatar, that's different. So I mean, who is easy to work with? There's no friction, they pay on time. When their name comes up on your phone, you don't have that horrible feeling in your stomach. Actually, your eyes light up and you're like, oh, I can't wait to speak to them. That, like, there's a real different feeling between a perfect customer and a nightmare customer. And then think about who your customer avatar is. So the cross through is the people that are a really good fit for you personally or on a values basis. And if you had like a Venn diagram, they would also be your customer avatar. So they need what you do, they fit the criteria, but they also have the same values as you. And what you tend to find then is work becomes a joy. It's really different. So something we've done in our advertising before now, if listeners are aware, with advertising you can target people based on their interests. So we'll put like our customer avatar in, and then let's say they're going to become a coaching client from this funnel, and Andy heads up the coaching side of our business. He really likes Star Trek. So one of the tricks we use is must also be interested in Star Trek in our advertising. Because what Andy will do midway through an onboarding call, he'll say something like, oh, it's a bit like when Spock forgot to do such and such. I don't know about Star Trek, but the person on the other end of the Zoom call gets so excited. They're like, oh, you like Star Trek? Yeah. And they suddenly the synergy becomes amazing because they're like, and the same happens with me. I like lower league football. I'm like one of the three people. And what happens is they'll be like, what did you do at the weekend? I'm like, oh, I went to watch Shrewsbury Town play. And they'll first reaction is they laugh. Second reaction is they'll ask me a question about it. And suddenly every catch-up call with that client is 90% about lower league football and 10% about their results. And as long as the results are good, it's just like chatting to an old friend.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a nice wee, again, it's something that people wouldn't really think of, but imagine if you could have all your best friends as your clients. That would make
Yeah, absolutely.
every call better. And I love that idea because I've had it in the past where the message pings or something pings, and no matter how amazing your day is going, your brain sees it, and for that moment is like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, no business ever gets this 100% right. Someone always slips through.
Yeah.
And I've had one today. I got an email today, and I saw it, and just by the language of the email, I was like, this guy is not on the same page as me. And it's fine. It's fine. We're getting him results, but I know long term we'll probably go our separate ways. And it's just purely because I got that email and just thought, like, why are you taking life so seriously? You're getting results. It's going really well. Like, chill out. Ask me what I did at the weekend. Let's just calm down.
Yeah. Again, it's that whole taking it so serious. Everything. I think whenever some people get too sucked into their business and everything has to run perfectly all the time, or if everything isn't perfect, everything's fucked, and you're like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like,
That's one of my favorite things to do in my journal is I write down everything that's gone well in the day and everything that's gone bad in the day. And the gone well list is so much longer than the gone bad list every day. Every day.
100%. Yeah.
But you'll find, unless you're careful, 90% of your thought energy has been on the negative side of that list.
Yeah.
And it's really important to remember to put enough energy into the gone well side.
I used to use the example of if you were coming to my office and you passed 10 people on the street and 9 of them waved at you and one of them flipped you the bird, who would you tell me about? They're like, oh, the person, why would they flip me the bird? And like, this is a hypothetical and you're already getting annoyed. like
Mr.
people,
Bean. It was Mr. Bean.
but people overlook the wave for the negative. Why did they do that?
Yeah, 100%.
So I totally agree that people can, if they're not self-aware enough, they can end up being sucked into that negative. Joel, I could keep you here for.
You'll see it with video. You'll see it with marketing. Sorry, I know you're trying to get rid of me for my own appointment as well.
Yeah.
But you see it with video. You see it with marketing, where marketing's going really well. 9 out of 10 things are working, and they'll focus on the one thing that isn't working, and you're like, well, just stop doing that. You don't need that because the other 9 things are working. And they're like, no, I want you to fix that. Well, we're not going to. We're just going to stop doing it.
Yeah. Not everything has to be fixed at all times. Especially in a business that's changing and growing, and a world that's changing and growing. Again, fear. Back to fear. People don't like change. I've done things like I've changed the color of your font this time. Oh, I don't like that. Like, I know, but you're wearing a t-shirt that the font doesn't work with, so I have to change. No, I need you to go back. Like, well, then it'll be invisible. Has to be the same color, brand, and font. I'm like, well, then stop fucking wearing stupid t-shirt. Like, what are you doing? Why is this such a thing?
Yeah. Dress on brand then. Yeah.
Yeah. Post it and see what happens. But I'm gonna cut you off because I know you have to go anyway, and I don't want to be the reason why you end up in an argument with a client fighting about a moose.
Yeah.
Where do people find you? How do they find you? I will link everything, but just for people listening, where's the best way to find you?
Thanks. If you want to reach out to me, I'm at joelstone13 on Instagram. Just DM me and we'll get into a chat. Codebreak.co.uk if you want a more serious chat. And if you found any moose out there, I want to hear about it.
And the book is on Amazon.
Books on Amazon. If you're really nice to me in the DMs, I'll send you a copy for free. All that'll happen then is our team will hound you until you become a Codebreak client, but don't worry, that's fun too.
That sounds awesome. Joel, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for giving it up, and for everyone listening, just reach out to any of us if you have any questions. I know you will have got a lot from this, and have a super awesome day, whatever you get up to, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks so much for having me.